引いてももちろん止まることなんて人生も同じように止まることはなく進むしだからそうさ今日も人はお手手のシワとシワ合わせんの終わらせちまうことなんか誰にだってできんだろうたとえ終わっちまったって次のスタートすぐ切れんだろう今君が思う奇跡も底上げさせてしまえばもうその時点でその奇跡は君にとって必然のお仲間さダンダンダンダンダンダンダンダンダンダンダンダン何回ダメダメと言われようが実際問題そんなん関係なくて今自分自身必要なもの蓄えて揃えとけよでそうだろまだまだ時間はまだあんぞ世間の目今は研ぎ澄まして主人公は一人だけ自分の物語の始まり
Hello, everyone. My name is Moot Monthly, and I, honest to God, was not expecting to stream again the very next day, or well, the day after the very next day. Um, it's honestly a little unbelievable that we've now landed in the position that we're in. The TeraLeak guys, specifically Game Freak out in his group, dropped the TeraLeak folders related to Ikaku or Pokemon Legends EA, as well as some other documents, including the entire Confluence server that they were able to get access to. Confluence is like an internal like code base slash like memo system that Game Freak uses. And they not only leaked the betas for Ikaku, but they leaked essentially Game Freak and the Pokemon Company's plans for the next 5 years. I honestly am kind of speechless. Like it's kind of hard to like how to even wrap your head around just how deep these guys were able to go. According to an interview that Centro posted with the guy the other day, Game Freak Out was in Game Freak servers for weeks, like several weeks, which is like you can only imagine what other stuff he uncovered that he hasn't shown yet. Like there's gonna be a TeraLeak 3 eventually. I hope you guys know that. Like there's still the Gaia files that he got access to that we haven't seen yet. The Gaia repositories and stuff. We haven't seen that stuff yet. He still has it. Like there's gonna be a TeraLeak 3 like next year. Just so you guys know. Um it's just insane. I mean, I'm gonna be going over what we've learned for the not one, not two, but like four projects that we got access to. Sorry, I'm getting a phone call. Give me one moment. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. So I shouldn't have any further distractions. So the first thing, before we really get into this, I'm going to be going over each project one by one, telling you guys like what we know about them and my personal opinions on it. Because I've had like I was gonna go live yesterday when all this stuff dropped, but I was like, I really need to kind of process it first and kind of think about the implications for each of these things and like their thought processes behind certain revelations that we've had. So I'm gonna be going through all these one by one. The first thing I want to preface this with though is that this stuff is files ranging from 2021 to like 2024. There's a lot of stuff that's probably been scrapped from this. There's even some contradictory documents within the files themselves because they're from different time periods that makes it a little murky on like what's still relevant and what isn't. So just keep that in mind as we get into this. I think that with regards to the projects we do know about, Gaia and Ringo are pretty much locked in for what they're going to be. Ringo, of course, may have some details changed and stuff, but Ringo as a concept is still guaranteed pretty much to exist because they've been developing it for like a year now. But with regards to Seed, Seed in particular is one I think that they never even got to like past the concept phase for. It may be scrapped. They may think it's too unfeasible after they do some research. Ringo is not a new gen. Ringo is Legends 3. It's Legends Galar. It's basically the second Gen 10 game. So, with that said, let's start off with Gaia, okay? Gaia is the next two Pokemon games coming out. It's Pokemon Wind and Waves, apparently. They're coming out next year. We've already, heard some things about it, but some of those things were apparently wrong, or not even wrong, but just misinterpreted. Mm-hmm. I did see that, Desdar, but like I'm saying, Seed might be thrown out not because it got leaked, but because Game Freak, they were saying they were looking into like the feasibility of it, like creating a map using Unreal Engine 5 and stuff for it and stuff like that. I mean, I'm going to talk about Seed later, but I don't think Seed is ever going to be a thing, especially like the current Game Freak can't do it. They just can't do it. They're not going to render 4 fucking regions in 3D, like redo all of them. It's too ambitious. Like even a major company probably wouldn't be able to do that. Like just give me VIP, bro. I can't post picture. Yeah, we're not. With regards to VIPs in the Discord, we are specifically keeping that tamped down for a reason. Just so that one, the VIP chat doesn't get too crazy, and two, we don't have people posting like porn gifs and stuff because we did have those issues. That's why we turned image perms off to begin with. I didn't want to turn off image perms. I literally said I wasn't going to, and then people just started spamming like porn gifs and stuff. So I was like, okay, whatever. I turn them off. Now you can't. That's 50th anniversary material, bro. Seed, yeah, I know, right? It's insane. Like they're not going to do it. Like they can't. Like I don't even think like Ubisoft could make a game like that, and they've got like 20,000 employees. Like it's Game Freak isn't capable of making a game like that. But that's fine. Like Pokemon games don't need to be that big. That said, let's get into Gaia. So we have learned that the region for Gaia is not based on the Cyclades, but is actually based in Indonesia, specifically like the island portion of Indonesia. And like apparently the reason this happened was not because they changed the region, but because the people who saw the TeraLeak documents early were stupid gamers who couldn't figure out which island chain it was. Like because they're like probably like college dropouts or some shit. Like, oh my god. It's actually so annoying. Like, like I'm saying like I would never make that mistake if I saw it. Like I'm fucking smart. Like I know geography and shit. Like it's insane how you would mess that up. But it's crazy. So it's based on Southeast Asia, and we actually learned that they were considering Greece as one of their options for Gen 10, but they decided not to because there's too many similarities with other European regions. They kind of want to avoid just doing Europe again, because they've been doing Europe a lot recently, and so they're just like, we're just not going to, and that's like that's fine, that's fine. Let's get somewhere new. Let's get a new region. Anything but dude, they're never going to do an African region. I mean, the first thing is that I don't think there are very few African nations. As a person whose family immigrated from Africa, there are very few African nations that are stable enough for a dev team like Game Freak to just go on a giant like trip there to like research about it and stuff. It's just, and also like the whole thing with like doing African lore and stuff properly is too controversial. Like even Egypt, whose mythology is probably the most famous out of any of the African nations, Egypt is super unstable right now. It's like you just can't do it. It's just never, like, unless Africa like 50 years from now is like a more stable continent, it's just not going to happen. It is what it is. Like there's just practical reasons why those don't happen. It's like my family's Ethiopian, and Ethiopia has been in a civil war for like a decade at this point, with no sign of it stopping. So it's like I'm not gonna ask them, hey, do an Ethiopian region. No, they're not going to do that. It is what it is. Because like you guys gotta realize that in order to make a game like on a region, like Game Freak takes their dev staff and they all go to that area in the real world and like study its locales, its geography, its mythology and stuff like in person. They don't just like look it up on Wikipedia. Like they actually go to the country and do it. So it's like you can't do that with like Egypt or something. Not at this point in time. You can't. It is what it is. So that said, Southeast Asia is a good choice. It's got some pretty rich mythology. It's got a very high level of biodiversity, one of the highest in the world. And Indonesia in particular serves really well for the kind of game they want to make with Gaia, because we've learned that Gaia is like, let me kind of bring it back a bit. We've known for a long time that Game Freak is a very creative company. They're a very ambitious company. They want to make crazy Pokemon games, but they were always held back by the hardware they were making these games for. I discussed this like a couple days ago. It's kind of eerie, like how much of this philosophy I sort of predicted in our last stream. Like I was talking about this stuff last stream, and now it's like being verified. I'm like, holy shit. But like Game Freak wants to expand what Pokemon means to people. They want to make new kinds of Pokemon games. They don't want to just do the same thing over and over and over. So when Pokemon is now like finally able to be developed for on a better console, that being the Switch 2, it seems like they're really starting to experiment with new technology, specifically with Unreal Engine 5. So there are two big technological leaps in Gaia that they are experimenting with. We don't know if they're really going to go through with all of it yet, because we don't actually have a build of a game yet. But there are two really big technological leaps. The first one is randomly generated terrain, islands specifically. Indonesia is a nation that comprises of over 17,000 islands in real life. So it's not surprising that Game Freak wants to replicate this seemingly endless variation, or like this endless sort of scope that Indonesia seems to have as a nation. It covers a really wide area, like Indonesia. Most of it's ocean, of course, but it covers a really wide area of the world, and it does feel like if you're actually physically exploring those islands, it will actually feel like almost endless. So it kind of reminds me of Eternatus. Uh, just the theme of Infinity, like Eternatus's name in Japanese is Mugen Daina, which is like Mugen is the Japanese word for infinity or infinite. So, and then Dyna is like that's where you get Dynamax from. Like it's I think that's kind of how they did the play on words there. Um, that said, well, I guess Japanese it's Dymax, but you know what I mean. But it is pretty interesting. Whenever you're getting Pokemon Minecraft, bro, I'm not talking about Gobblemon. I mean, if they do this, you might as well. You might like that's kind of what this is. Like I'm gonna kind of get to that, but that kind of is what they're going for. So like the first thing is the random island generation, right? The random island generation is based on your seed Pokemon. So this is a Pokemon that you raise from an egg that you or something that you get early on in the game, and depending on its experiences, depending on what environments it's in, or maybe it's just like every person gets a slightly different one, it will change like the islands you go to. It will affect them. Or specifically, there's like one story island that's affected by your seed Pokemon, and you can share that island. I'm going to get into that now. The second technological leap that they're trying to go for, not just in Gaia, but seemingly in future games as well, is an MMO, or specifically MMO systems. When they say MMO, like MMO, like I have played MMOs for thousands and thousands of hours. I've played a lot of World of Warcraft. I've played Final Fantasy 14 pretty much all the way through. I have played several other MMOs like New World, etc. MMO is a hotly contested term in the MMO community. A lot of people aren't exactly like a lot of people argue about what exactly an MMO means, right? And game companies have stretched the meaning of MMO quite a bit. One example that comes to mind is Destiny, which is considered an MMO, even though it's like it's not it's not really an MMO. It's considered an MMO by its devs and also by its community. So when we're talking about MMO systems here for Pokemon, what exactly does that mean? I believe it's divided into a few different aspects. The first is that players in Gaia will have the ability to upload their procedurally generated islands to a central server called Naya, codename Naya. That's literally just Gaia, but with an M. And not an M, an N, my bad. An N, Naya, right? Um, they will be able to upload their islands to there, and they can invite their friends to go run around their islands with them. This literally is just basically Minecraft, but kind of a little different. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of like, no, not really. Um, it's weird. Like they they want players to be able to run around islands together, do little quests and stuff. I think like quests are becoming a pretty important theming in Pokemon like mainline games, right? Like for example, look at ZA. It's got 121 side quests. In previous games, quests weren't really codified like that. There was still side content and stuff you could do, but they weren't literally called quests, right? Like you'll just come across an NPC who wants you to help them out with something, or you want to do something at the arcade and like win a bunch of stuff to get stuff, or stuff like that. Like those are technically side quests, but they weren't literally called side quests. But with ZA and seemingly with Gaia, they've kind of begin to codify them like that. Or I'm saying codify. Codify means like to put into law or something. Okay, I'm not saying like that, but codify means to like to make them literally that thing, or to bring them into a nomenclature or like a description, you know. So with that said, that's the first aspect. The second aspect, considering MMO, is raid battles. Raid battles were already a thing in Pokemon. They've been doing them since like Gen 8, but it seems like they want to expand the scope a little bit to something maybe more than 4 players. I think that's the only reason why they would offer it as a, well, you know, a raid battle. At minimum is 8 players, and that's like Final Fantasy 14 does 8-player raid battles. But most people, when they think of raids, raids are a kind of PvE content in large scale MMOs, in which players will, I'll kind of explain it. Players will band together into an instance, so like a private server, and they will complete some PvE content together. The most iconic raid in an MMO is Molten Core in World of Warcraft, the original. It's a 40-player raid in which players band together to defeat a series of bosses, uh, which require a level of coordination uh, to get like the best rewards in that version of the game. Like you kill the monsters, you get like fancy weapons and stuff. So like you kill Ragnaros, you get like the Hand of Ragnaros, but not the actual weapon, but like the crafting material for it or whatever. And there's like other stuff like Azure Song, Mageblade, etc. But the point is, the idea is players band together and beat a boss using coordinated strategy, right? Raid bosses are not just damage sponges that stand still and spam like AoE attacks, although some of them do that. What they do is a lot of them will have specific mechanics that players will need to coordinate together to avoid or disarm at the expense of like everyone dying at once. Like that's like a very common, like there's like there's like insta kill mechanics, like don't stand too close together, or don't get hit into this area of the map which spawns a bunch of enemy PvE mobs that come and swarm everyone and kill them, you know, that sort of thing. So these raid battles are not just going to be like your Gmax raid dens or whatever. It's not going to be like some little bullshit. It's probably they're probably, when they say MMO raid battles, that's what they mean. Now, I'm not saying that Pokemon's going to do 40-player content. That's never going to happen. But I'm expecting like 6 to 8-player raid battles in which there's actual mechanics that the Pokemon do that you need to like learn to avoid and stuff. I think that the Rogue Mega Evolutions in ZA are kind of like their first way of trying to work with these mechanics. Because, you know, the Rogue Megas have like their own special moves and stuff, right? Like you see them in the trailers, like Tyranitar has that giant spike thing, Banette spawns a bunch of Shadow clones of itself, you know, that sort of thing. So, like, they have their own unique mechanics and stuff that you need to avoid. Yeah, that aren't just regular Pokemon moves. That's what I mean when I say, like, those. So, the third MMO aspect that they want to do is a shared space, specifically the hotel, which seems to be like the home base for Gaia. Basically, the general premise behind Gaia at this point is that it's very similar to Gen 7. There's a lot of things that are very similar to Gen 7, but basically, the MC's mom wins a sweepstakes to get a vacation from in the New Gaia region, and they stay at like a hotel there. They're originally from Kuala Lumpur, or like the Poki Indonesia equivalent of that, like a big city. They start there and then they move over to this hotel, kind of like at a resort. And this hotel is meant to be a shared space. So what do I mean by that? So the first game, I think, to really popularize the idea of a shared space with many players and then instance content, uh, just primarily instance content without anything, like not much seeing other players, would be Destiny, specifically Destiny's Tower. That's like the most iconic example of it. I'm sure that there were other MMOs before then that Bungie got its idea from, but whenever I think of shared space, I always think of Destiny's Tower. So basically, how it works is Destiny's Tower is just, well, it's a tower. It's a specifically like the roof of the tower, but it's a tower that you'll see like dozens of other players in. All of them are like accepting quests from quest givers, or looking at their inventory, or just like messing around, doing a parkour or whatever. But basically, you go into the tower to like get all your quests and stuff. And there's always a bunch of other players around you. You can see them, what they're doing and stuff. Whenever you go out into the open world or into specific instance content, of course, there's way less players. There's like either the players you party up with or just like a few other players like they're just in your zone. So the hotel seems to be Pokemon's equivalent of that. So you'll see other players in this hotel. You could probably challenge them to battles or trade with them, talk with them. There might even be a text chat to post in to talk with people, give them advice, or tell them, hey, like, this is how you beat this gym, or you find this Pokemon in this area, or maybe you need to set up this island procedural generation to do this and that, whatever. That's basically what it is. So that's the third MMO aspect. And I'm a little surprised. I always expected I always expected Game Freak to eventually do MMO stuff. I mean, it's a given, right? Like we look at like the anime and people love seeing how like a full world of trainers all, growing together, catching Pokemon, that sort of thing. It's part of why Pokemon Go was so popular to begin with, because it is kind of like a little MMO. It kind of is, especially now. Not so much when it launched, but especially now. Like people, like I mean, back then even people would just rove around in giant packs looking for like species of Pokemon that they haven't found yet. And then whenever someone finds a rare one, everyone runs over to that spawn to go catch it. This was like years and years ago. So that's the MMO aspects. Those are the two big technological things, right? Aside from that, we do know that there's a lot of other things they want to do. As someone just mentioned in chat, they want to work with diving and writing. They want to make every Pokemon interactable with, which is a good thing. I think that's cool because interacting with your Pokemon is like one of the core aspects of what makes like Pokemon its franchise, right? Like the reason Pal World got the sort of niche notoriety that it did was because they also focused on the interaction between like the player and their pals, albeit in a very different way than Pokemon did. And instead of befriending them, you're mostly enslaving them or torturing them or eating them. But it it's the same thing, and that's why people got into it. It was because there was that interactivity, right? We're definitely gonna get the smallest decks ever. Yeah, I mean, considering the fact that everything's procedurally generated, it's gonna be hard to make that cohesion. It's gonna be weird. So with that said, that's pretty much it for the most part for Gaia. I mean, there was some production stuff, but overall, Gaia is a very different game than the game I envisioned it to be 48 hours ago. A lot of this will come down to execution. We have to see, like, is it laggy? That's the biggest thing, is that, like, this MMO stuff is cool and all, but MMO games lag a lot. You need a very, very specific and very, very, like, skilled netcode to actually make the most of that concept. And it's always been a struggle. There are very, very, very few MMOs out there that can actually handle having more than like 20 players in one place at a time. And World of Warcraft is no longer one of those games. So it's like, I'm not sure if Pokemon is ready yet. Their programmers specifically are ready yet for that sort of thing. Especially considering that, like, when it just comes to rendering alone, having too many Pokemon in one space is generally what causes the Switch games to break down. So, of course, we haven't really seen the full capabilities of the Switch 2 yet, really in any game. So, I'm excited to see kind of where they go with it. But I'm also not exactly holding my breath when it comes to performance. I'm guessing that if they actually go through with this concept, like, it's going to be glitchy, it's going to be buggy, it's going to be laggy, really laggy. Um, it's extremely ambitious. We'll just put it like that. And, Game Freak is known, just like anyone is known, really, to be pretty ambitious when it comes to creating something, but then, cutting down whenever they are whenever they're actually optimizing the game. Like, one idea that comes to mind is like ZA's buildings, right? Everyone's bitching about ZA's buildings. Apparently, in the beta, they actually were rendered properly. The balconies were real balconies and not 360p textures from XY. But it ended up being the case. The game's already been delayed. The game was supposed to come out this year or early next year. It was supposed to come out this year, and then they delayed it by a year because, not because the game itself wasn't ready, but because the Switch 2 wasn't ready to be released yet. They weren't done with the production of it. They started dev in 2022, and it was supposed to release in 2025 on a 3-year schedule, but they didn't. It's a 4-year schedule now, and honestly, I think that's a good thing. I think it actually is good for them. I think they really should be doing these 4-year schedules. I know that they're probably pissed about it, but, like, this is so good for them. Like, ZA Switch 2 plays so well. Like, just keep doing that. I don't, like, they're going to make less money, but in the long run, but it's just so much of a better experience, a better product. I think delaying it will help them. It'll perform better. But again, they're probably going to downsize a lot of the stuff they outlined in these documents, especially the pitch documents. So, with that out of the way, when it comes to Gaia, we still don't have any builds of Gaia, right? We have a couple testing environments, but we don't have any builds of Gaia, nor do we have any new Pokemon, the map. We don't have that stuff yet. That stuff does exist, at least the map does, and a couple builds exist. So no new Pokemon, I believe, at all. But the map and stuff exists, but it's in the Gaia folder, which we don't have yet. So we can't really say one way or another what the map's actually going to look like. So let's move on to the other two projects. And these ones are going to be a lot more, like, theoretical. We know a lot less about them, but I kind of want to discuss them. So first off, we have Ringo. And this is going to be less a discussion about Ringo and more just, like, the Legend series in general, because it's become very convoluted. So let's get started. Ringo is the next game after Gaia, and it is currently planned to be Legends Galar. The third Legends game, and it is a game about Galar. 1,000 years ago, when you, the player, have to make the first, like, Dynamax Pokeball to catch, presumably, like Eternatus or something. Uh, so Ringo is still very much in its experimental stages. They just started development of it last year. It seems to run on a sort of Pikmin style combat almost, where you control a horde of Pokemon, most of which are AI, and you battle like rogue Dynamax Pokemon and stuff, which are just these giant Titan Pokemon that you really feel the scale of. I think the fights will be really interesting. The combat is definitely very, very, very different. We are completely gone from controlling a single Pokemon. The next evolution isn't controlling the Pokemon, it's actually you are leading a group of like 10 or a dozen Pokemon around with no Pokeballs in sight. You just control a horde of Pokemon, which is interesting. I think people are going to hate it because catching Pokemon with Pokeballs and battling with a single Pokemon that you send out of a Pokeball is core to the Pokemon experience, and Pokemon fans don't like change. I'm pretty interested. I'm definitely down. But I'm sure that a lot of people aren't down. That said, um, the Legends series, like Game Freak has a very complicated relationship with the Legends series. I talked about this last stream, so I'm probably not really going to get all back into it again. But it does seem that there is something of a disconnect within Game Freak about, they're not entirely sure about the Legend series, I think. They're not like they are still planning to do remakes aside from Legends. I think they're just doing like one Legends game for each region and then that's probably it. But they're still planning to do regular remakes as well. So they aren't entirely giving up on traditional Pokemon like as we know it. And they seem to be a little conflicted on exactly what regions they want to do Legends with. Um Originally, Legends EA was supposed to be essentially Legends Johto, and they were gonna do like a double version game, like a normal one. Like basically, it's like Heart Gold Soul Silver, but like a prequel or something. And they ended up scrapping that, which is fine. I don't really care if they did that or not, but it kind of shows that with the idea of Legends, like Legends is supposed to be a series that, according to Game Freak, dives deeper into like the gameplay of Pokemon and the lore of the region they're trying to depict. Like it really is a series that explores what the essence of Pokemon really is, right? They're trying to see like what specifically about Pokemon makes it Pokemon. And they're trying to experiment that with their games, with their storytelling. And they're essentially giving these to fans and seeing how they react. What specifically about Pokemon do you like so much? Right? That's why they're doing the different battle systems, that's why they're doing the different storytelling styles, different art styles, all of that. Some of it makes its way to the mainline series, and some of it doesn't. So, the thing about that is that Pokemon is a franchise that is, well, it's the most popular media franchise in the world. And many different kinds of people like it, and they like it for different reasons. Some people like it for the competitive scene, for specifically the battle system, the archaic one, that is. Uh, and all they want to see during leaks is the stats of the new Pokemon, or the new Megas, or new whatever, right? The new moves. Others are in it for the world, the immersion, the lore. They spend hours and hours and hours and hours making up these random timeline, like schizo theories about how many years, like, in the future is ZA from, the main games or the previous one. Yeah. Others like it for the Pokemon designs themselves. These are the people who enjoy collecting Pokemon, so these would be shiny hunters, TCG collectors, Pokemon Go players, that sort of thing. These are people who enjoy Pokemon specifically for the Pokemon. And yet, there are still people who don't engage with any aspect of the franchise except the anime. And all they like is the emotion of Pokemon, specifically the battles, like watching the battles, seeing trainers battle each other, seeing trainers connect with their Pokemon. So it is, in a sense, a fan of the storytelling, but they like it in that specific format. So it's hard to say. It's hard for anyone to say really what specifically about Pokemon makes it as popular as it is. And I think the correct answer is that it's all of those things together that make it the most popular franchise in the world. So Game Freak, I think, is on a bit of a fool's errand with the Legend series. I think that the intention is good, but they're not going to find what they're looking for in there. There's no quintessential singular system that they could introduce that would instantly make a game the perfect Pokemon game. There's so many different ideas that you can use, but at the end of the day, like, a game can only have so much in it. You can only put so many different features or mechanics in a game before it becomes too bloated and becomes like directionless, kind of inconsistent as well. This is the issue with like these massive, you see these massive AAA games like the new Assassin's Creed, or like God of War, like all these massive, specifically like these PlayStation games, like these massive, massive, massive budgets, and they don't actually, sometimes they don't even perform that well. They don't even do that well, and the games don't actually feel that good to play. Why? Because there was so much stuff in it that's unnecessary or even detrimental to the experience, because they just had too many ideas, and they were just like, we have 50,000 people working on this game, we can just put all of it in. And then there's no soul, there's no single vision for the game, and it feels kind of like slop. And then Pokemon, a game with a budget an order of magnitude less than these major games, sells better than some of them. And of course, the difference in budget is primarily due to differences in the strength of currency and cost of living, etc. But it still matters. And it shows you that having a vision, having a defined theme and set of mechanics that you want to accomplish in one game will massively outpace just throwing shit on the wall and seeing what sticks, right? So, with that said, Ringo Legends Galar. Why Galar? I think Galar is a very interesting region. And I've always said that Dynamax as a concept is really interesting, but it feels poorly executed in pretty much every single aspect. Like every single avenue, like in the games, they looked goofy. They were very slow. They weren't really that interesting. Gigantamax was cool to an extent, but it was kind of boring. It was a kind of a boring implementation. Like Megas, in my opinion, looked cooler. They were more unique, etc. In the anime, um, it was similar. There were a lot of cool scenes with Dynamax Pokemon, but in general, the moves didn't have that much flair to them, and they also moved poorly as well. The cards were some of the most interesting with like the cool art and the max moves, but at the end of the day, like those were just like they were just like megas but without abilities, and it was kind of like VMAX was kind of weird. It's kind of cringe. Why don't I invite other people to make podcast talks? I used to do that, um, but generally people are not they don't follow schedules. If you tell someone 48 hours from a stream, "Hey, can you make it?" They say yes, and then the morning of, they're not there. They're not even online. And then you look like a goober. So I stopped doing I stopped doing these like group podcasts just cuz people would never show up. And then like, Pokemon fans tend to get like social anxiety and stuff. So like they're really awkward on the mic. I'm not saying I'm not like awkward on the mic sometimes, but I think I handle it better than most. That said, the only implementation or execution of like Dynamax or Gigantamax that I've seen that was actually good was Twilight Wings. Seeing that fight with Gigantamax Charizard, I think it was like at the end of it, was just awesome. It looked amazing. And, the Pokemon were fluid. It was actually moving around. Its attacks tore up the stadium. That felt visceral. It felt real. It felt like the Pokemon actually were that big. And I know technically they aren't really that big, but you know what I mean. That's with Dynamax. It like that's the issue. I think them looking big is cool. And it is a very classic, Japanese trope to like, kaiju Pokemon and stuff. And I think it is cool. But I just feel like the implementation was weird. And they're the only time we ever see these Pokemon are when they're in stadiums. They can't even move around, right? Like they can't move around, so they just stand there and fire attacks at each other, right? And it's like, but what if we saw those Pokemon fighting in like a city or something, or out in a field where they can actually move around and fight with each other and shit? Like them being limited to those power spots was one of the things that made them feel static. So I think the reason why they're doing Legends Gallery is because they realized this. They realized that their implementation of Dynamax wasn't the best. So now we are going to be fighting Dynamax Pokemon out in the wild, out in nowhere, where there are no stadiums. Stadiums aren't even really a thing yet. That sort of thing. I'm excited. I want to see what they do with it. Um, of course, would I have preferred like a Legends Black and White MMO where it's like two factions for the war and everything? Yeah, I probably would have, but I'll take a Legends Galar. It's 10 a.m. Why are you sleepy? Um, well, I usually get home at like 12:30 a.m. from university, and I sleep at like 1 or 1:30. Wake up at like 9:30. It's actually noon now for me. Um, I'm always just perpetually sleepy. It's just a side effect of being a grad school student. It is what it is. And I don't like drink coffee or anything either. So it like I don't like abuse caffeine. So I just get tired. Johto deserved a Legends game more. I mean, did it really though? We've got like one singular Johto story. I think the most interesting thing about Johto was that it was the like the place that created the Pokeballs. It was like the origin of Pokemon trainers were in Johto. So I think that's like the interesting ish thing is like, you know, the first Pokemon trainer, right? The first actual Pokemon trainer, like in the way we know them. But they've already kind of done that with Hisui in a sense. Like Hisui, like Pokemon Legends Arceus was about the idea of introducing Pokemon trainers to an untamed region. Like Johto has like the one story about like Entei, Raikou, and Suicune, and like Ho-Oh and stuff. Of course, they could invent more stories for those games, but at the end of the day, Game Freak didn't see it feasible, which I agree with. I don't really think that it would have been that good. That said, that's basically my thoughts on Ringo. We have to learn more for me to really say more about it, but it is interesting that they're continuing the Legends series, and also they have this weird thing with like the Legends series as a thing. The final project that we actually learned anything about was Seed. Seed is basically that one Pokemon game people have been asking for 15 years. A unified Poke Japan with the first 4 regions plus Kitakami in it. That is crazy. It's never going to happen. I don't think that's like. I don't think they're gonna make it. They would have to be making that for like 5 to 10 years before they would actually finish making it. It's like that scale of a game, because you gotta realize like it's a game in the sense of like, you know, a Legends game, like where you're actually like walking around. You know, you're walking around a region, like, and it's like full to scale. Like, do you guys even realize like how insane that is? Yeah, like they're not making that. It's a cool idea though. I hope that they do it one day, but I don't think they're in the space for it. We saw some concept art for it, but generally we don't really know much else about it. Um, we don't even know, like, there's a lot of practical problems with how it worked. What do you think about the Macedus shit? I think it's insane. The moment he left, the quality dipped. I wouldn't say the quality dipped. It's just that the work got harder because they went to 3D. Like, the work just got harder. That's why the quality dipped, because they have more to do now. It's more difficult, and they aren't exactly expanding their studio. So they have more to do, more to render, more stuff to think about. They have to transition to new technology all the time because 3D stuff is always evolving and it's always getting more complex. So it's Pokopia debuild. I'm not talking about Pokopia. I don't give a fuck about Pokopia. I'm sorry, bro. uh, what do you mean by future proofed? They made HD models, sure, but they're constantly changing the engine. Like, the engine's the same, but they're constantly adjusting the engine every single gen. Like, it's not future proofed. It's literally not future proofed. Like, that was like the whole fucking problem, was that it wasn't future proofed properly. And the XY model, the XY engine and the XY like system wasn't usable for Gen 7. It wasn't usable for Gen 8. It wasn't usable for Gen 9. They had to readjust shit every single time. They had to make new animation engines and shit. Keep yawning. I don't have sleep apnea. Okay. I slept a full 8 hours. I'm just a sleepy piece of shit, okay? It is what it is. Here for you, that shit's dangerous. I'm good, dog. Anyway. Yeah. that's like seed is a cool idea, but I don't really have much to say. Like, okay, dude, it's cool if they make one, but like one, how's the level pacing gonna work? Two, I mean, are we gonna have like four different Pokemon leagues and then like a big championship league at the end? That would be cool. I want to do a giant tournament. Um, just all of that. Like, it's a cool idea. Like, but it's kind of unfeasible in multiple ways. Like, I mean, this idea has already been discussed to death by fans, and they're right. Like, there's like so many different reasons why you can't make a Pokemon game that lasts fucking 100 hours. Because that's like literally, it's just like Genshin Impact, but Pokemon. Like, yeah, you want to travel over a whole fucking continent? Like, yeah, sure, bro. Like, holy shit. Like, you, how fucking long? I don't even want to think about how long it takes to get from like Mondstadt to Natlan or whatever for like just walking. Like, I don't even want to think about it. It probably takes fucking forever. I haven't even played Genshin since like Sumeru, I think. But dude, Jesus Christ. Like, that game would be insane. It's like a whole fucking country? What? Don't you play Woowa now? No, I don't. I played Woowa for like 5 minutes total. My little brother plays it, but I don't. I used to be a big gotcha guy. I haven't actually been playing any gotchas like the past year plus. Um, the gotchas that I've put the most time into are Tower of Fantasy and ironically Eversoul. I really liked Eversoul, but that was because it had like PvP and shit. But aside from that, no, I haven't really played gotchas that much. Of course, I've played like the story of Genshin. I've played some Honkai and stuff, but not a crazy amount, especially not anymore. I'm interested in Ananta and Azure Promelia though. I might play both of those. Anyway, I think that's pretty much everything. Everything I wanted to cover at least. Uh, it's still insane that this happened. Like, we even got access to like the Nintendo developer portal and shit. Like, it's insane. Like, it's ridiculous. I I don't know if like dev morale for Game Freak is ever gonna recover after this. Like, this is insane. Like, it's the entire fucking decade, right? It's like, Jesus. Uh, I am gonna go to the gym and shit. So I'm gonna head out. Uh, this will probably be my last stream for a while. Spanish Pokemon game. Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't really. In general, I wasn't expecting the Discord to get this big. The Discord has now passed 11,000. I think 11,000 people. Um, right? Yeah, we're well past 11,000. Yeah, I was not expecting the Discord to get that big. I am now probably gonna start expecting a phone call from Nintendo at some point. I didn't do anything really that wrong, so I don't really care. But the server has gotten too big to be ignored by anyone, which kind of is a little scary, but it should be fine. I never even downloaded the game or anything. Like, I literally just reposted a link that was on 4chan, so it's like it's fine. But we deleted all the links from the league channels and stuff just as a precaution. And yeah, it's the server is still probably gonna get deleted at some point. I would assume like Nintendo's gonna ask Discord to delete it, and I'm like, okay, fine, that's fine. It sucks because the Discord has become a resource, really. Not just for me, but for the Pokemon community at large, at least the League community. So I don't want to get deleted. So I may have to end up removing more stuff from those channels, as well as like some of those pins in the ZA chat and stuff. But overall, um, as I said before, for Scarlet and Violet, the server was at 400 people, and now it's like probably a top 10 Pokemon Discord server, which is, I will archive the servers, everything one day. Well, just tell me before you do it, okay? I don't think we'll need to archive that much. I think the game is fine. I mean, I think the server is fine. It should be fine. The issue with the server is that it's too big. Delete for what? No laws are broken? Because the issue is people are discussing piracy and stuff in it. And that is, like, that's considered promoting piracy, which is illegal. It's too big. Like, it's too big, and, you know, it's become a nexus for piracy. It has. Like, people are sharing tips on how to use it on the emulator, how to download the game, which things to download, you know. It's, like, you know, it's to the point, like, they fucking took down a subreddit mod for a Nintendo piracy subreddit for that. For enabling so many people to get access to the stuff. Not because he was like posting the shit himself, but sharing links to piracy websites and stuff. Like, that's what he was doing. And he still got hit with like a $4.5 million fucking lawsuit because he was enabling piracy. He was enabling and like signal boosting it, right? Which is basically what I'm doing. So I am a little concerned, but it shouldn't be an issue because I'm not actually doing anything. But the problem is that the Discord is huge. That's the issue. If it's like a small Discord, like, Nintendo's not gonna care. But when you're getting to tens of thousands of people, it starts to become an actual problem to the point where even though the Discord almost has more members than I have Twitter followers. Which doesn't even make sense, to be honest with you. But what it means is that it is slowly becoming something that is a bigger distributor than the original distributor of the leaks. Yeah, I have 13K. It has 11.3K. Dude, that's like... Dude, you realize we're going to be at 13K by the end of the week, right? Like, maybe by even fucking tomorrow? Like... like, we might be at 13K by tomorrow, dude. That's the pace we're going at. It's getting big. Very big. So, we'll have to see. I may have to just remove all of the piracy stuff. Not the TeraLeak stuff, because that's stupid. Like, no one's gonna... Yeah, but I'm gonna probably have to remove, like, the Go file links to the games and all that shit. Just as a precaution. 30K by 2026? No. It's gonna slow down by next week. When people get the game officially, it'll slow down by next week. But until then, we're probably gonna boost up to 13 or 15K. Probably. It will be the final number. And then, after the league season ends... people will start leaving. So we'll probably shrink back down to like 10K or something. But that's still a lot of people. Yeah, you know how many people were in the server when I turned it back on? Like 200 people, I think. That's how many people were in the server when I turned it back on. Like 170 or 200 people or something. And then I turned it back on. And then it just started expanding from there. Yeah, I wasn't expecting Yeah, you see, that's why I want to keep it up, because it's become like a really big community in and of itself. Like, people are already making friends and shit. I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to just delete the server. Even though if Nintendo emails me today and they say, "Hey, we want you to delete this Discord," I will delete the Discord, okay? Like, I will, because I'm not I'm look, I like you guys, but I don't like you guys that much. If like all Nintendo has to do is just tell me like, hey, we want you to, for example, if they want me to just like remove the game links, I'll do that. I'll even like auto mod the game links so people can't post them. If they want me to delete the leak channels, I will forward everything to myself privately, and then I'll delete them, and then I'll probably repost them somewhere else. But you didn't hear that from me. If they want me to delete the server, I'll delete the server. It is what it is. I'm not interested in fighting Nintendo at all. I have a life to live that I value very much. I think I actually have a pretty good life that I enjoy, and I'm not going to throw that away for kids game leaks. But that's it. If Nintendo doesn't message me, then I'm not going to do anything. But all they have to do is send me, if they send me a C&D, ask me, hey, delete this Discord or whatever, I'll delete it. It's what it is. I'll probably make a new one, but it'll probably be more locked down. Like probably not as much stuff will be actually posted on it, but maybe we'll link to other websites and stuff instead, where you can go look at it. But that said, you know, if Nintendo wants me to get rid of it, I'll get rid of it. That's what it is. So Nintendo, if you're here listening to this, you have a problem, just send me a message and we can work it out. I'm not interested in doing all that shit. Yeah, of course I'll make an announcement. What I'll do is I'll archive all of the channels except like announcements, and then I'll just like at everyone, and that'll be the only channel you can see, and it'll be like, hey, Nintendo asked me to remove the server, so I'll be deleting it, because they'll give me like a week or something to delete it if they send a message. It'll be like they'll like delete it by like November or whatever if they sent it today, like delete it by November. So I'll just like put in announcements, everyone, this server will be deleted by this legally specified date. Thank you all for coming out and all that. And I'm probably gonna say follow me on Twitter, but but again, that's just what I would do. Anyway, Tourney when? Honestly, this weekend isn't a good weekend for me. I'm gonna be busy this weekend, so I might have to delay the tourney till next week. It depends. I kind of have a lot going on right now. So I was actually thinking about the tournament this morning when I was in the shower. I was like thinking like, when am I gonna do this? And it might not actually happen. At least right now. It might be later on. I think Razenburst is doing one, so maybe we'll just advertise that one instead. Anyway. I think I'm going to head out. My throat hurts. I want to go to the gym. All that. So, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for being here for this league season. I think this will probably be the last league stream. I think this will be it. Hopefully, Game Freak Out doesn't watch this and he's like, you know what? I'm going to draw the Gaio folder today. And then just drops the Gaio folder and I have to go look at it. Hopefully, that's it. Hopefully, this is it for a while. The league season was crazy. We are now probably not going to archive the Discord because we've already made the Gaia channel, and you know we've already got so much shit about Gaia, like it's kind of pointless. Like, we're not going to archive the Discord. So, of our own volition, you shouldn't have to worry about the Discord getting archived. For now, because Gaia is already out, and we already made a Gaia channel to discuss it. So, yeah, we're probably not going to archive it. But that said, like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, link in the description if you're not already in Discord. I'm pretty sure everyone watching this is in the Discord, but if you're not already in Discord, join the Discord. If you have any friends who are interested in Discord or interested in Pokemon leaks, send them a link to the Discord, discord.gg/Mootendo. Yeah. That's it. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for joining these streams during this league season. It's been pretty crazy. So, yeah, it worked out pretty well, actually. I think we're in the clear. I talked with someone who has connections with Nintendo the other day, and they said that they're looking into the source of the leaks, not necessarily like this, but they are like aware of like my Discord and stuff. So hopefully we're in the clear and we're all good. But again, if Nintendo decides to send me an email, I'll happily comply with whatever they want me to do. So yeah, I'll see you guys. See you guys around. See you guys in the Discord, probably on Twitter and stuff. I'm probably not gonna live stream again for a while. These live streams have kind of been fucking up my throat a little bit, and don't feel so good. So yeah, bye guys.